Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka Geek XX Chic, and I am back with another review to The Flash. I am back after my little break. It has been a minute, and I know I am behind. I know I am not caught up, so please bear in mind as I'm doing this review, it is based on the episode I just watched, which was episode 18, which was called Lose Yourself. And yeah, so I'm going to talk about that episode. I do not know what's happened in the most recent episodes. I'm in a real effort to try to catch up so I can be back in line with the weekly ones. But for right now, that's for this episode. So thank you so much for your patience. For those who've been waiting for me to come back and talk about this, I'm here to give you my thoughts on the episode. And again, remember, this is me not knowing what's going on. I am behind. I don't know what happened at episode 21, so anything I'm saying right now may be completely wrong, and we're gonna find out soon enough, but here we go. So I guess this episode was somewhat like a Ralph thing, you know. I kind of, you know what it reminded me of? Because I watched The Walking Dead, and The Walking Dead kind of has this formula that they go with whenever a character is about to die. They usually have a bunch, like an episode where all of a sudden you see so much of this character. And The Walking Dead's cast is massive, so if you suddenly see a character that you usually only see once or twice here and there, and all of a sudden they're getting all this screen time and all these lines and all these moments, it typically is a huge indicator on that show that that person is not going to make it out of the episode. And I kind of got that with Ralph in this episode. I mean, we have seen like focuses on him in the past, no doubt, but sorry, I almost knocked over my coffee mug on my phone. But this one we got more of like, this whole season, I guess my issue with Ralph, and I've ranted about this in previous videos, so I'm not going to get too much into it, but I've always kind of had a problem with that. They don't seem to know what they want to do with Ralph. Is he going to be good? Is he going to be bad? Is he going to have a moral compass, or isn't he? Some episodes he's kind of likable. Other episodes I find him a bit grating. And overall, I'm just meh about Ralph, I guess is the problem. Like, I don't really love him as a character. I don't really hate him as a character, but I'm honestly not really like attracted to him as far as wanting him to stick around. Like, I'm fine in the episodes where there is no Ralph. I don't miss him. Let's put it that way. And when he's there, if he's not being completely annoying, he's all right. But I don't feel like he's necessarily, he doesn't need to be an addition to Team Flash at this point. And I know that the show, I maybe felt when Wally left the show that they might have had a hole they need to fill, but maybe they don't. You know what I mean? Like, I loved Wally, don't get me wrong. I do think it would have been cool if we could have still kept Wally on the show, but, you know, kind of same thing with Ralph. Like, they did have the episodes that kind of tried to shove him in our face. And I don't know, like I said in that previous video when I talked about Ralph, I didn't always find it organic, and it just kind of was off-putting for me, and it just didn't work. So, again, having this episode where he's just, you know, just harping. I just feel like they can't seem to find a way to make Ralph just do or say what he's gonna say and do it in a way that's kind of natural and endearing. It's always kind of feels like a nagging kind of harpy kind of way that he does things. So I was very annoyed with him kind of halfway through. I mean, I get it, don't get me wrong. He did have a valid point about disposing of DeVoe. I mean, one of the issues that Barry has always faced when it comes to his antagonists is that they're willing to do anything and everything they have to get to their objective, whereas Barry has the line. But that's the dilemma of a hero, right? The hero's dilemma is that he can't cross a certain line and continue to call himself a hero. And so it always kind of puts Barry and any hero at a distinct disadvantage because they aren't willing to cross those lines. But, you know, it's a valid conversation. It's a hero conversation, and I'm glad that Barry and Ralph kind of had to do it, but it's just kind of, I don't know. It's just the way that Ralph's delivered overall just never really appeals to me very much. And I hate to say it, but in this particular case, I do think, like, if we're going on the assumption that all the metas that DeVoe has absorbed, they're dead, like there's no coming back for them, it's absolutely over, no matter what, then honestly, keeping him alive is not necessarily to the benefit of anybody. Like, DeVoe is so smart, and there's no guarantee that the pipeline would be able to stop him, particularly with Kilgore's power. And then it just didn't feel organic to me, where in the end when he's laying in the hospital bed after Barry punched him, which was a really great scene, FYI, you know, his whole, oh, I'm doing all this because I don't want to see all of you get hurt, oh, I don't care about me. it didn't ring true to me, because almost everything we'd seen of Ralph up until that point was Ralph being about his own self-preservation. He was very selfish, very self-centered. He was always talking about he just wants to save his own butt, like, and then all of a sudden it's about Team Flash. Like, I don't know. It just kind of felt like a desperate attempt for the writers to be like, look, Ralph's really a good guy, guys. Like, you know, he really is great. You know, and I don't know. It's a pitch that fell flat for me. And so, I don't know. I didn't really buy it. It didn't really touch me in the way I'm sure that the writers were hoping it might. But c'est la vie. I mean, it's great. I mean, I like the idea that Ralph is endearing to the crew. I do believe he cares about them. Is he willing to go out there and kill himself just to save them all? A little hard for me to take right now, but the one big thing out of Ralph's rantings that I kind of took away that I really hope that Team Flash will really now take to heart, that I've been saying since the beginning of the season, is that they keep going with the same plan. They keep going with the same thinking patterns. And I know it's not easy to break free of those patterns. You know, when you've grown up your whole life living and thinking a certain way, it's very hard to think outside of that box, but they have to do it. They have to do it. It's the only way that they're going to defeat DeVoe. They keep doing everything that they've always done, and that is why DeVoe's been able to predict their patterns over and over and over again and have all the countermeasures in place to stop them. Yeah, that's kind of my whole rant kind of about the whole Ralph thing. I mean, the fact that he's gone, I don't think he's gone. I mean, the fact that his body is the last body, and I wasn't sure what he would need Ralph for, because I think the stretching ability, but again, his regenerative ability is the fact that he can, you know, pretty much come back from everything. I really thought he was going to want Barry for that. I really, really did. But I guess with Ralph, it works. He gets the face that he wants. He doesn't want to necessarily, I mean, why he would go to a, you know, why wouldn't he just keep the face of a younger, fairly attractive man? I don't know. But yeah, he said his mind is expanding. I didn't actually think his brain was physically growing though, so that kind of threw me for a loop. I thought it was just more of a matter that he was deteriorating because of the physical demand that his brain was, like, the constant energy it took to run. But Ralph's body doesn't generate continuous energy. It will expand infinitely as far as we know, but it's not gonna continue to fuel the brain. It might regenerate fat. Like, I still think the Flash's body is the only thing that would really keep up with his mind, but maybe he can't have it or he doesn't want it. I don't know. My point is, if Ralph's body is sticking around, I don't think we're losing Ralph, and I have a feeling we're not going to lose all the metas we lost this season. The whole thing with Joe and talking to Harry about his thinking cap addiction, it was interesting. The most that I took out of that whole exchange is that we've never really heard Joe talk about his relationship with Iris's mother in the sense of dealing with the addiction. Like, he didn't even talk about Iris's mother till season 2, and we all know the epic fail that the mother storyline was with Iris and Joe. But it was kind of nice to hear Joe talk a little bit more about that and talk about why he was so concerned with Harry, and the fact that he picked up on it. You know, I think everyone kind of did, but the fact that Joe saw that it was beyond just Harry being his normal exuberant self about science, that he really was just becoming dependent upon this machinery. It was just kind of cool to see that go down. It was good for Harry to hear this so-called, you know, simple Joe, this blue-collar guy actually kind of come at him with some knowledge that even he didn't have. Like, dude, you know, you may be super smart, but I'm super observant, and I know that you have a problem. I knew Harry wasn't going to stop. He's just too, and not just because of the addiction side of it. Harry just really, he is almost, what would be the word? He kind of almost is obsessive about being the smartest guy in the room. You know, he has a really hard time yielding to the idea that someone out there is smarter than him. So, you know, he learned the hard way when he just about killed himself with the dark matter. And now, of course, the thinking cap is destroyed. And I mean, again, we found out that DeVoe knew that the thinking cap existed. He knew that Harry would build it. He knew that Harry would use it. And he was already 10 steps ahead of Harry even with that. You know, we might just roll right into the whole thing with DeVoe's plan. Like, that was amazing. Like, the whole arc of his plan was beautiful from start to finish. I have to say, this is the best, absolute, hands down best villain the Flash has ever had. I don't watch Arrow. I don't know if Arrow's even come close to having a villain that's been this complex and this well thought out. Like, so beautifully done. So beautifully done. I used to, up until now, I thought that Eobard Thawne was the best one that they'd had, but this villain This villain, DeVoe, is by far the best written, most cohesive, most well-developed and well-rounded villain they've had on the show, bar none. So fun to watch this. It hurts, like I said, it hurts to see Team Flash losing over and over again, but if they're gonna lose, I want them to lose to someone who's damn good, and I love it. I love that DeVoe keeps pointing out to Team Flash that they've got to stop trying to use just their powers and their training. It's more than that. He is more than that. And it's just been so well done. And even this whole thing, the way it all wrapped up to getting all the metas in this particular episode, like, you know, all the claps and snaps to the writers. They did a great job with DeVoe this season, and I am so eager to find out how they're going to take him down now, because he is damn near invincible. I really do think, as I mentioned at the beginning of my reaction video, that Marlize is going to be the key. She's going to have to be the key. I can't think of any other way they're going to get to DeVoe now. There's just no way. So, speaking of Marlize, I can't end this video without bringing out, when did she learn some ninja, like, bullet blocking moves with a sword? When did that happen? I mean, I'm all for badass chicks, you know this. I love girls who can kick ass, and oh my god, Iris was boss this episode, okay? Please. Seriously, that came out of nowhere. It's one thing for her to have the sign, like, I'm fine with her having a weapon that would have maybe a shield attached to it or something, but her being able to block these bullets, like, what? When did Marlize have time to learn martial arts? What? Like, just... that was a little bit like, okay, a bit much. But it was great to see wife-on-wife fight, especially considering what I said way at the beginning of the season about how Marlize and Clifford and Barry and Iris are kind of this weird mirror image of each other as far as their relationships and their dedication to one another. One's very sick, twisted, and warped and become obsessive, whereas the other one's a little bit more naive, but still pure and genuine. Seeing them do that callback to the scene where, you know, Marlize was like, you know, oh, in the courtroom, we had that conversation, and Iris was like, pulled out the biggest gun, the BFG, and was like, yeah, what you say about my husband? What you say about what I was willing to do for my man? Come at me. Come at me. Sad that she didn't actually win that fight, but let's face it, Iris doesn't really have... We know Iris does. That was realistic to me, actually. Iris in that situation was realistic in the sense of she doesn't have, like, outside of her dad's boxing lessons, Iris doesn't have, like, actual combat training, which I really hope that she thinks of getting at some point, considering that she's in Star Labs all the time. But, you know, she didn't get to win that fight in the way that would have been kind of cool, but kind of unrealistic. But the fact that she took that hit just to get Marlize, I mean, that was some badass stuff. That was some next level stuff. It was great to see Iris, again, show Marlize, I'm willing to do what it takes to, like, this is my family, you're in my house, and I will do what is necessary, and I ain't drugged. You know, she did that completely blue juice free, you know what I'm saying? So that was great. Iris is amazing as usual, and I liked seeing her be that little badass in her own realm in that scene. And then I guess the last little thing I can bring up is a little West Allen moment at the end. I remember seeing on Twitter a few people that were upset with Barry for sending Iris away in that last scene. I don't think it's... I don't know. I don't really see anything wrong with it. Iris was just trying to be like, you know, she's doing what a married partner should do. She knew Barry was upset. She knew that Barry would take this personally. Barry's the kind of person who likes to take all the blame on himself. He does that all the time. And she just wanted to make sure that he was okay. She knew that he might, you know, head off to that spirally place that Barry often goes off to when he's experienced the loss. And she just wanted to check in on her man and make sure that he was okay and didn't need to talk, and maybe didn't want to do it in front of all of Star Labs. And, you know, Barry needed a minute. Barry needed a second, right? You know, this is something that everyone has that, right? They deal with something. Sometimes they need a little bit of space to just kind of process how they feel. When they're ready, they'll come and share if they feel like sharing. So I think that was fine. I didn't think it was weird. I don't think Barry was rude. He said, he was very sweet. He even said it, like, I know you're there for me. I know you love me. I know I can talk to you, and that's why I love you. But right now, I just need to do my thing. And she was like, okay, babe. Yeah, that was pretty much the episode. I thought it was good. Like I said, really, what really brought this episode around for me was the culmination of DeVoe's plan around the metas. Really well done, really well executed. I like that they tied that up so nicely and that they built it and threaded it throughout this season so brilliantly. So kudos there. And now we're just into this really final end game of figuring out what the heck his grand plan is and seeing how that's going to turn out, because clearly Team Flash is going to have to focus on that now. So great episode, guys. I'm not going to be asking questions at the end of this one, but please Any comments, opinions, anything else you got about this episode, please feel free to leave those below if you'd like. I know I'm really late on this, so I'm not going to be asking questions since I know y'all already have some spoilers, but I'm going to ask you to please keep it spoiler free. I am catching up on the episodes as we speak, and I'd like to be able to experience them as authentically as I can. So if you like this video, guys, please click like, and if you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. And remember, if you haven't seen the reaction to this video, you can catch it on my Patreon account, which the link will be below in the description. Until next time, see you guys!